Hello, friends, and welcome to your midweek edition of the Kings of Anglia Ipswich Town podcast. It's a big show today. There's a huge game to build up to tomorrow night at Portman Road, 28,000 plus against Derby County live on Sky TV, of course. But before we get to that, and Mark, Heath, Andy, Warren, Stuart, Watson all here to break that down. Rossi will be joining us later. Before we get to that, though, boys, big news on Monday night. Ipswich Town found out who they're going to be playing in the first round, of the FA Cup. And it's a big one. Finally, after all these years, we've got an interesting FA Cup draw. Ipswich Town will travel to Bracknell Town, which is step 3 of football. A fascinating game. And I'm very pleased to say we've got a very special guest today, and that's Kayne SB, the owner of Bracknell Town. He's given us some time, probably the busiest man in the country at the moment. But I'm going to bring him in now, and we can have a little chat with him about the game. So here we go. Kayne, how are you?
Very well. Yeah,
Thanks
right.
for...
I don't know if I'm the busiest man in the country at the moment, but it's certainly we're certainly getting our 5 minutes of fame, that's for sure.
I can imagine. So, by way of kicking this off, Kayne, there were some great videos doing the rounds of the reaction when Ipswich Town and Bracknell were put together out of the hat, as it were, on Monday night. Can you take us back to that? How did you feel, first of all, when Town came out of the hat? You knew that you were going to be hosting Ipswich Town, and what's your week been like since? Because, as I say, I'd imagine it's been pretty mad.
Yes, I don't know if it's a bit of ignorance on our part, but before the draw, everyone had the big draws. Everyone was saying Sheffield Wednesday, Derby, and I don't know why, but Ipswich wasn't mentioned. I don't know, like our fans not kind of highlighted Ipswich as a potential team we could draw. But when they come out of the hat, and you kind of then instantly think, well, former Premier League club, UEFA Cup winners, you kind of realise, and so then you hear this, you kind of go and do you remind yourself of some of the huge players that have played for Ipswich. You realise it's it doesn't get much bigger. So it was a team that, so when it came out, it was you saw, I think everyone's seen the footage, just the excitement of being able to host a former Premier League club. So yes, massive. It's massive, and then since then, it's random, like some of the people that have contacted me that have known me since I was a kid. People, the most random one was my mum used to childmind for a family that now live in Ipswich, and one of the kids she childminded is a manager of a non-league club in Ipswich. It's like just the most random of random people coming out from here, there, and everywhere. And I've just become, bizarrely popular, and that's not a normal thing for a chairman of a non-league football club. Locally, you're normally not very popular. All of a sudden, I've got friends. So yes, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. But it's kind of trying to keep up with the unbelievable request, the volume of requests I'm getting at the moment for tickets is kind of overwhelming. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind the last 2 days. It's been immense.
I can imagine. So Ipswich Town come out, you're going to be hosting Ipswich Town, and then it's the logistics of actually putting the game on.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that? Have we got a date confirmed? It's Monday, November the 7th, isn't it? That's the date.
Yeah, that's so we had some pretty high level meetings yesterday with the Thames Valley Police and our local council, and I mean, it's 99% sure it's going to be the Monday. The TV are doing their audit of our ground on Monday of this Monday coming.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing our sales this Saturday at our game based on it being the Monday.
Right.
I can't see much changing that at the moment. So I don't think it's not got the official, the 100%, but I can't see much. There's no other date that's been talked about with us by all the official organisers and coordinators.
Okay, and it's going to be on TV. We're thinking ITV4. Did I see?
I believe so. Yeah, ITV4. Yeah. Yes.
And in terms of the capacity of the ground, it's just under 2,000. Is it? Is that?
Well, actually, it's 3,000.
Right.
But we've got a safety audit on Friday. We're kind of edging on the side of caution, in as much as I think for this event it's going to be somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000. We've got to take the advice of the expert. that's going to come in and do the audit on Friday. But I think he's going to put it at somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000. It's going to be somewhere there or thereabouts.
And in terms of demand for tickets, everything we've done on this game so far has been massively consumed by Ipswich Town fans. I think they're really kind of caught up. It's a proper FA Cup game, and there's a lot of them want to be there. But in terms of how many can be there, what's the allocation likely to be?
I think at the moment we've got to give you 15% of the. So I think initially, on Friday tomorrow we're sending you 300 tickets in the first instance. I think there'll be more. What we traditionally do is sell all our tickets online, but we can't do that for this. So we've had to kind of put a bit of a ring fence around how we're doing it. So we're going to be basically selling tickets in the first instance to our fans that are in our ground at our game on Saturday. Right. So again, on that front, we've got to prioritise our season ticket holders. So they're going to be given the first opportunity to buy tickets on Saturday in the ground at 11 o'clock. And then following that, it's people that have been to our recent games. And then following that, it's kind of going on general sale to local people that can get to our ground. So we're kind of saying, I think that's a bit of a test as well. We've got to, if you come into our game on Saturday, you get an opportunity to buy a ticket. So that's the kind of fairest way, not to, because everyone wants tickets, and our priority is to make sure our youth players get tickets, our season ticket holders, our loyal fans that travel away with us week in, week out. And by the way, we regularly get only 500 fans. So as a club, we've only just been promoted to step 3. But when I took it over, it was kind of a club that was bouncing from step 6 to 5. So it was literally, I remember when I first took over, we had about 30 fans and a dog watching us. So we weren't very well supported, but it's kind of grown. COVID didn't really help that, but on the back of that now, we're up to about 500. So we're not one of the best supported step 3 sides, but from where we were only a few years ago, it's grown massively. And on the back of this, it will grow and kick on again.
Can you talk a bit about that, Stu? I know that was something you were particularly interested in, about the history of the club and your recent success. Do you want to come into?
Yeah, when did you take over, Kayne? Because I was looking at your league finishes of recent years at second, and then first. So it's been a real upward trajectory for you.
So there is my family, or my wife's family, the McClurgs and the Bradleys. They've built the club over the last 50 years. And when I say built the club, I mean physically laid the bricks, built the old clubhouse at our former site. And so in my family, so my wife's family, her father, Steve McClurg, who's our president, he always was on the footballing side. And then my wife's nan, that was from the Bradleys, they done the kind of the operational side of the football club, run the bar, they used to run the cafe on the old site. So it was kind of the McClurg name in Bracknell is like a football dynasty. That is they're very much the McClurgs and the Bradleys. And now the Steinborn-Busses have a long history. But myself and my wife actually stepped in, sadly, in 2015. Well, the Bradleys that done the back end, sadly, her aunt and uncle passed away in the 2000s. And with lots of clubs of our level, with the smoking ban coming in, it was it used to be a bit of a social club, really, more of a social club than a football club, if that makes sense. But that wasn't successful, let's put it that way. And sadly, the club found itself in 2015 really looking down the barrel of a gun and really was facing. It was at the end of it come to the end of its natural life. And we had to do something pretty drastic. It had no fans. It was getting relegated and it was pinging back between step 5 and step 6. And it actually come back up to step 5 on a technicality. We had a good ground and we were allowed to come back up because of our ground. I think we certainly didn't finish in a position that it wasn't for football reasons we come up. It was more for the infrastructure we had at our ground. So we come back up to step 5. And when I stepped in around August, I started to get involved in around the August of 2015. We were now to the bottom of the league up until that Christmas. And then I just said to the people in charge, some family members, look, if I'm going to get involved, I am going to take full responsibility and I'm going to take the club over fully. And I've done that in around January 2016. So myself and my wife cleared the debts. In the first wave, we invested about £1.6 million into that ground, and we built a 3G. And then we basically the journey began, and we started to push the club forward. And I think we got promoted. In our first kind of full season, we came runners up. We didn't go up that year, but then in the second year, we went up to step 4. And in our first year at step 4, we got in the playoffs. And then at our second attempt, COVID hit. So the season was null and voided, but we were up there. We were gonna get promoted. And then we had the second season of null and void. So we stagnated through them COVID years at step 4, but really we were primed and ready to go to step 3. And then last year, our first full season, again out of lockdowns and in the full run, we finished, I think it was 20 points clear at the top of step 4. We absolutely smashed it, and we come up to step 3. And this year we've recently changed our manager. And again, talking about the McClurg name, the dynasty of the McClurg name, our manager's gone off to a conference Southside Weymouth, and I brought in my wife's cousin, Jamie McClurg, former mascot actually of Bracknell Town. First, he was a mascot back in his uncle's days, my wife's dad's days of Steve McClurg's era. Jamie's been a mascot. He's been a player. He's helped get us promoted in the past. He's gone away to a local rival, Binfield, and kind of got his management badges and his experience. He took Binfield to the FA Vars, I think last year or the year before, at Vars final at Wembley. And he's rejoined us as joint manager with Carl Withers, who's also a former player. So we've, again, the McClurg name, it's absolutely kind of intertwined in our history. And it couldn't be more fitting that Jamie McClurg is one half of our management duo that's going to be kind of leading the team on that day. It's going to be a special night for not just the town, but for my family. When I say the family is the SBs, the McClurgs, the Bradleys. Although the Bradleys aren't actively involved as much now, they are through default through, I suppose, my father-in-law. His mum is a Bradley and she's still with us. So I'm sure she'll be there on the night, kind of representing the Bradleys, and hopefully a few of the others will come out. But it's very much, like I said, if you go into Bracknell, the McClurgs are the football name.
So when you took over back in 2015, you say there'd obviously been struggles, 30 people at games, that kind of thing. If someone had said to you, Kayne, in 7 years, your club will be hosting former UEFA Cup champions, former FA Cup winners, Ipswich Town, what would you have said?
Well, people that know me will know that in my mind, well, I set out, I will turn Bracknell into a professional football club. So that was my vision. So some people that are very close to me won't be surprised that we're facing Ipswich in this game. People that don't know me in the town will be surprised. But listen, if you're around me, ultimately I don't wake up in the morning to lose. That's simply, I wake up every day to win in whatever I'm doing. So, when I took over the responsibility of if you go look through since I took ownership I took over and I've become the owner of Bracknell, although it's a million miles off the history and the kind of the highs that you guys are used to at Ipswich, people knew that my vision for the club and how I operate, winning. I wouldn't be involved in football if it, simply. The minute I stop wanting to win, I will not be the owner of Bracknell Town. Simple as that. So where we are now at step 3, I don't want to be there for very long. And right now, in my plan, we're behind where we wanted to be because of the 2 years of lockdown. I wanted to be in and around Conference South now, knocking on the door of the Vanarama. That's where I want to take Bracknell. I want them to be a full-time professional club in the Vanarama.
And this game can kind of help you towards that, can't it? In terms of the finances, what will this game mean to you in the kind of business finance terms?
Okay, so we as a group, the SB Sports and Education Group that owns Bracknell and Sandhurst Town Football Club, it was forecasted to lose £180,000 this year. So to put it in perspective, off the back of 2 years of the 2 COVID years and coming into last year, we're in a recovery state at the moment. We're behind on so we, as a sport and education group, we bring players in from overseas to study. And that is what generates our revenue as a group. So we can't rely upon tickets. We can't rely upon shirt sales. We can't rely upon TV revenue. None of that exists down where we are. So we simply, we as a group, we educate 16 to 23-year-olds, and that's either doing NCFE, BTECs, or A-levels, or degree courses. And our students come from as far as wide as California, Florida. We've got players from Ghana, Uganda, Botswana, countries where they see value in a UK education. So they come in from overseas, and fundamentally we board and house students from around the world. Now, with 2 years of not being able to get out and do recruitment around the world, that's hurt our business model massively. So as a business, we kept going through COVID. There was no, in a pure business sense, we as a football club, we didn't make money for 2 years. So really, we should have shut the doors and never reopened. And again, coming in this year, and it's funny, I've done an interview 2 weeks ago, and it's going out tonight on BBC South about the challenges that we face. You know, this year alone, we face cost increases across the board on everything: fertilizer, electric, gas, just everything to operate this year has just gone through the roof. So yeah, on the back of 2 years of being closed, we were set to lose about £180,000 in this financial year. So this game will hopefully bring us back to, I would like to think we could break even this year on the back of this game. So that's how big it is for us. You know, that really could get us back. It was going to rely upon the generosity of my wider group. Fundamentally, myself and my wife have kept the club afloat for the last 2 years, and we would have kept it afloat this year. And we've supported it. We've invested upwards of 6 million in the last 2 or 3 years in infrastructure, building a new ground, building a training ground, and supporting the losses because of COVID. So it's been a massive, monumentous task by me and my family to keep it going. But we simply failing under our ownership wasn't an option. So we wouldn't, you know, like I said, the easiest thing would have been just to turn the lights off during COVID, because it was just completely unsustainable. And that's not just us, that's all clubs, every club. There's not a club in this land that will, in the non-leagues, that will not be finding it hard right now. It's really, really difficult. So, you know, I get it when people say, oh, you're profiteering, you're charging 25 quid for this game. Well, we have to try and make as much money out of this game as physically possible for a few reasons. Well, the ticket price, for one, we actually won't make too much on the tickets because there's going to be a policing cost that we wouldn't normally be used to. There's going to be a stewarding cost that we definitely wouldn't be used to. You know, we wouldn't be having, our stewards normally are volunteers. For this event, that's not going to float. We're going to have external stewarding that's going to come in. And just the kind of when Ipswich travel for FA Cup games, it's their right. I think they requested it straight away. I think the first email we got is just to say that we in FA Cups, the tickets, before you split the gate 50-50. So we have to split the gate with Ipswich Town. So they get 50% of the proceeds after costs. So a reasonable cost is your stewarding, your policing, the things to put the game off are deducted at source. Ipswich travel from and to our ground is deductible, and their overnight stay in a hotel, I believe. Well, they've requested an overnight stay in a hotel, so that's all comes out of the gate before we split. So they're normal things, and I've seen a bit some of the chatter on Twitter. People don't get the kind of the finer minutiae, but they're legitimate deductibles from the gate that Ipswich Town are fully entitled. And I'd imagine as well, Ipswich have they're not they shouldn't be operating in Division 1. I would imagine they also have their own financial challenges from operating at that level. Although I'd imagine that the fact that you get such huge gates helps bridge that pain. But I'd imagine that the chief exec, the chairman of Ipswich, they also have their struggles keeping a club as big as yours alive down in League One, because you shouldn't really be there.
No, that's true. Boys, we've only got a couple more minutes with Kayne. Is there anything you particularly want to ask? I've got one final question which I want to finish on, but is there anything you want to ask him, boys?
Can you give us a little guide around the ground? What the fans that are able to get tickets can expect? What you've got there, and probably a lot of people will want to know what beers you've got on tap in the clubhouse. In the clubhouse,
yes, they're not going to. So the clubhouse is going to be for hospitality. That we're going to have a champagne reception, canapes, as Roy Keane would put it, the prawn sandwich will go with it. So sadly, they're not going to be able to get a draft beer on the night. The draft in our marquees that we're going to have set up to make sure that we can serve people, they're going to be cans and plastic bottles. So what they're going to be, I don't know at this point, but they're going to, behind our clubhouse is going to be a big marquee, and at the top of our ground is going to be another marquee. So one thing I can say is, food-wise, we've got a local company called Wings and Things that are going to be there on the night doing wings. And we've also got a German sausage company, because I'm German, half German. So we're going to have a German sausage company as well. So we're going to have some good food vendors in the ground, and I'd imagine we'll also have some good local special bottled beer as well on the night. So we're going to try our best to look after our local vendors. We're subbing out our 2 bars because that's not our forte. We're kind of used to catering for 500 people. So we're going to a local pub, the Admiral Cunningham. There's a local. They do festivals, so they're going to come and run our marquees on the night to ensure that we can look after everyone that's in the ground as best as possible.
Are you going to have to segregate fans, do you think? I did see somewhere a suggestion.
I don't think your fans need to be segregated. I think the fact that the ones that are going to be lucky enough to get one of them tickets, I guess, are season ticket holders that are triple gold, that go to all the games, that are vetted. I'm not segregating. We don't need to segregate our fans. And from all the messages I've read online, you don't have any issue at all with your fans. So my desire is not to segregate.
That'll be great. That's almost like a rugby crowd. That'll be brilliant.
Yeah, that's the spirit, and that's what I fully expect on the night. It's going to be a family event, and it's a Monday night. If it was a Saturday where people could get in early and drink, maybe, but I don't think there's going to be a massive drinking culture on a Monday night. So we don't want to segregate, and we want to have it as open as possible to your fans and our fans. That's the spirit of the FA Cup, right? This is a family night where you can come in and see what it's like down in the lower echelons of non-league football, and then you can realise how lucky you are right up at the heady heights of well, you should be a championship, if not a premiership club. But we definitely don't want to segregate that.
Going to be a special night. Stuart, any more from you?
Just before Mark asks the killer question, I see you've got a trip to Truro scheduled for 2 days later after this, down in the depths of Cornwall. Is that still on? That gives an idea of your fixtures?
It's still on now, but the minute this goes green, this fixture, at the moment, like I said, it's 99.9%. But like I said, until it absolutely gets 100% confirmation, we can't do any of our other rescheduling either side of this game. So I don't think we will be going to Truro on the Wednesday night. I think our league should look after us. Yeah. But we did play. We had the draw on Monday night, and we were playing on Tuesday night against Hayes and Yedding. So but I hope common sense will prevail, and we don't have to travel all the way down to Truro, because whatever happens on the night, win, lose, or draw, we want to enjoy that Monday night. So I want my players and my staff and everyone to enjoy that Monday night. So hopefully they don't make us travel, but if they do, we will, and we'll prepare for the Wednesday night down in Truro.
Okay, Kayne, one final question then. It's the obvious one. You said you're a winner. You want to win. Come Monday, the 7th of November, Ipswich Town are at Bracknell. If I can give you the choice now between winning on the night, which would be without doubt one of the biggest upsets in FA
Yeah.
Cup history, or getting a replay back at Portman Road and the kind of financial benefits that would bring as well.
You don't even finish the question.
Tell me.
We win. That's it. Simple. People will say you're stupid, but any and every game of football. And I used to play football. I used to play rugby. I'm more of a rugby player, believe it or not. But I've never, ever, any game, any level, no matter what the opposition, big, small, simply, we set up and we go to win no matter what. Now, I know the expectation is you're a League One side. You're much, much, much bigger than us. You absolutely should beat us. And it's a travesty if you do not. But we're not setting up to do anything other than win that game of football. Why would you? You might as well not turn up. If you've got a mindset of anything else, there's no point turning up.
Fantastic.
So, yeah,
I don't know if you know anything about the history of Ipswich Town and the FA Cup, but in recent times,
I've read it again.
It is not good.
I've seen televised.
Yeah.
You don't like televised games?
The last non-league side they played, they put them out on TV. So there's a precedent for you. Kayne, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you're a very, very busy man.
Yeah.
Best of luck with all the build-up. Hopefully we'll speak to you again before then. And on the night, obviously, it's going to be a special.
Yeah, I'd love to come on again as we get closer to the game.
Superb. Best of luck with it all, Kayne, and thanks again for your time.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, Kayne.
Cheers, bye.
There we go then, boys. That was interesting, wasn't it? What a nice guy. And what a good guy. As I say, probably one of the busiest men in the country at the moment, outside of whatever's going on at Downing Street. What do you make of that then? Well, I didn't realise it was such a kind of family-run, orientated club. That was really nice, wasn't it?
I'd back him in Downing Street at the moment, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
He seems in control of what he's doing a little bit more.
Yeah. But, I mean, the things we take away there, not segregating the fans, that'll be nice, wouldn't it? Really nice kind of atmosphere there. What a night it's going to be. We haven't actually spoken ourselves about the draw because it is a classic FA Cup first-round draw, isn't it? It's the sort of thing we've not had at Town for a long time. You've got a minnow, with all due respect, and a giant, David Werther's Goliath, at the minnow. That's what the FA Cup's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What have Ipswich had in League One? Coventry they've played in the FA Cup. They've played Lincoln in the FA Cup since they've been entering at round one. And Barrow obviously happened. This is exactly what you want, isn't it? When that came out the hat.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I saw a tweet that said, "Is it possible to be nervous, excited, and embarrassed in equal measure?" I can't. Forgive me, I can't remember who put that out. It was, but that kind of sums it up. Really, it's an interesting draw. It's certainly more exciting than anything we've had in recent times, but it's also a kind of a reminder of where Ipswich are at as a football club, as much as we're kind of excited about the direction of travel going forwards. Yeah, as a sort of a novelty fixture now is quite nice, but it's not something you want to be doing every year, and it's something Ipswich ultimately want to get away from sooner rather than later. But all that said, I'm really looking forward to this as a different type of game. You can't help but smile when you hear a lot of that stuff Kayne was saying about being a proper family club, the financial troubles that all clubs at non-league level have had in recent years. You kind of think, yeah, I'm pleased for them when they get a draw like that. Obviously hope they don't enjoy it too much on the night. We've had our fill of national embarrassment, haven't we, in recent years? But sounds like they're going to be up for it.
You fancy German sausage, Hutchie?
That menu sounded all right, to be fair. Yeah. Yes, I do.
Could be an interesting night from a kind of your boys' point of view as well, isn't it? Press coverage wise, what kind of facilities they're going to be. I'd imagine you're going to be going back to your roots, covering grassroots football back in the day before you got to your lofty status now.
We're going to, yes. Whether we're both able to get there is a question, I would say.
Yeah, we didn't chuck that one in. Hopefully, Kayne sort of coming on the podcast. If we can should we give him friend of the show status, and then he might give us 2 press passes.
Yeah, we'll have to be adaptable, flexible, but we'll get the job done. Maybe bring an extension lead.
Lots of extension leads, I'd imagine, and maybe a security guard to mind all your stuff. Make sure no one unplugs the all-important extension leads, etc. Right then, friends, that's the FA Cup done. I hope you enjoyed that. As I say, it's a big show today. We've got another big thing to talk about, which is Derby County. Before we get to that, though, let's talk about something that happened on Tuesday night, very briefly, because we have to mention it. It's an Ipswich Town news show, after all. Ipswich Town lost at Cambridge United in the EFL Trophy on Tuesday night. It's close to a dead rubber as you can get, really. They still finished top of the group. And I guess really the main talking points, boys, clearly Kyle Edwards' red card and a chance to see some players that you wouldn't normally see. So do you want to kick us off, Stewie? Kyle Edwards' red card, absolute nonsense, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, and ruined the whole game, really. I say ruined. I suppose it changed the lessons that Ipswich took from it. There wasn't really anything to gain from it, obviously, in terms of result. It was a dead rubber from Ipswich's point of view, but Ipswich went into that game naming a pretty strong side with a smattering of youngsters, and the hope would have been to kind of work on the patterns of play and as an attacking unit, try and work on a few things, and going down to 10 men after 17 minutes sort of changed that. But in some ways, maybe it helped some of those sort of rusty fringe players get some proper running in their legs. Maybe it helped some of the youngsters learn, there'll be times in proper football matches where things like that happen, and now they've got a bit of an experience to draw upon within that. So, but yeah, in answer to your question, it was a ridiculous red card. Looking back at it, why the referees made that decision from the position that he's in, he's not necessarily right up on top of play. It looks like he's got an obscured vision. You've got to be 100% sure that you're going to send someone off for simulation, and I can't see how he is. So yeah, first and foremost, I'm just disappointed for Kyle, really, who looks like he's got a bit of the bit between his teeth at the moment. And he'd started really well in that game, and it looked like one that he might be able to get a bit of joy in and really sort of push his case for Friday night, but denied, obviously.
But important to mention, obviously, that he's only suspended in that competition, isn't he? He's not suspended from league games, so still available for tomorrow night. Hutchie, I know you love the pizza trophy. I love now this tradition you've got of using pizza slices for your ratings. That's really added to the sense of occasion, I think. What did you make of? Clearly, Kyle Edwards, you're both going to have the same view. What about players who maybe we haven't seen a lot of? Who did you like on the night?
I liked all of the young players that got start. Two of them got starts, didn't they? Edwin Agbaje, a debut for him. Tawanda Chirewa started that game really well and was really positive before the red card. But I thought they both did really well. But I think the red card impacted on their games too, because Agbaje's game is all about sort of pass and move, getting up and down, being a really attacking right back. Chirewa's role in the team looked to be sort of the number 10 with the license to drift and get himself on the ball in dangerous positions, and just the structure that was needed to play with 10 men meant both of those players were just kind of held back just a little bit. They both did well, and should be really proud of how they did. But I think they'd have had sort of more enjoyable nights if they'd been in a team of 11, because they'd have been able to be a bit more natural in what they do. Panucci Kamara, obviously a debut in the second half, and I think the suggestion was that he didn't see as much of the ball as he would have done had they had 11 players on the pitch. But it was good to see him finally play. Some real signs of rust there from a player that hasn't played for 6 months. But I think Sonia Luko's debut against Newport last season has taught us a bit of a lesson there that it's not something to get too overhyped about. This was just a blowing out the legs exercise for him.
And a home draw in the next round, boys. No one seems to know when the second round draw is, but it's going to be a home draw. There's no, as far as I know, have you got any further update on the second round draw? It's just a mystery. It's going to land at some point.
They've just done it on like a Saturday morning randomly in the past from memory, but
it's slightly complicated, this one, but by the fact I don't think the group stage actually finishes until the 8th of November, and it's all to do with the under 21 teams being able to play necessarily on all the nights where the rest of the teams have been able to play. So there's still games going on like into the first week of November beyond the FA Cup game we've just been talking about. So probably can't do the draw till after those, unless they do kind of either or in the draws. I don't know. They do what they want in this competition, don't they?
And I don't suppose much else really needed to speak about, boys. There is Derby County to come. There is another big section we're about to launch, and it's what I like to call the Hutchie section, because it's Hutchie's very own European trophy. It's the Milka Cup Hutchie, and I believe we've got some more results, haven't we?
Yeah, second legs of second legs of the preliminary round coming right at you now. So I'm going to put them up on the screen and do a little dramatic reading for those who know or care.
I feel like I should stand up for this when the music hits.
You do what you want, mate. If you want to get up. So with the second legs, Paida Limaskond of Estonia, 3-0 home winners over Vlajnia Škoda of Albania. That's 6-1 on aggregate. UEFA Regions League winners Lower Silesia from Poland. They're out, beaten 5-1 at home, 6-1 on aggregate by Trefiure of San Marino. Budućnost of Montenegro. They're through against Macedonia Goce Petrov of North Macedonia. Stop laughing, Stuart. It's a serious business. I can see your little face. B36 Tórshavn, Faroe Islands. They're through 5-3 aggregate victory over Floriana. Sadly, Benfica under 19s, which sound like they've become a bit of a villain of this competition. They're through 3-2 home win, 5-2 on aggregate over Athletic Tascaldes of Andorra. Surbatalo lost 3-4 at home to Viking of Iceland. They're through 6-4. Mark's loving that, and he's also loving Lincoln Red Imps, who won on penalties after a 6-6 aggregate draw with Crusaders. Lee Casciaro with the winning penalty there for Lincoln Red Imps. And
you picked a winning goal scorer. Good.
Yeah, I've got top scorers for this guy.
Have you not heard, you obviously haven't heard the first round, Stu. We had every single goal scorer in the first leg. But I assume Hutchie's editing for
yeah, it's all still being recorded, all of that. But I don't know if we needed it all on the podcast today. But it is all being recorded. We've got top scorers lists on there and everything. And I've also just noticed that the authorities have actually filled in the final score incorrectly on the bottom one there. It's actually the new Saints are through. They won 7-4 on aggregate against Racing FC of Luxembourg. So the Welsh Cup winners are through to the final qualifying round.
That's a big result. I'll tell you what, I was nervous about the Red Imps. When you get to pens, it's a lottery, isn't it? But thankfully the boys pulled through. Yeah. Also very pleased to see Viking Gore get through, being as I'm part Viking, clearly. So what happens now then, Hutchie? Is it a preliminary?
Yeah, through to a final qualifying round now, which the draw is actually next week. So
we'll be bringing you that next week, then, will we?
Yeah, maybe we might have to bring you. We might possibly have to bring it to you afterwards. But the draw is being made. It's like the Papa John's Trophy; it just happens whenever it happens, and there you are. But we'll do it. We'll bring it live on the podcast.
Keep an eye out for that. Stewie, any thoughts on that?
I need to pick a team. I need to send me that list. I'll look back at it and I'll pick someone to really get behind.
Flash it up now, Hutchie, and Stu can pick a side. I've got Lincoln Red Imps and Viking Gore. Who do you fancy, Stewie?
Gone for two. So these are all the qualifiers still, right? There's going to be a load more teams come in.
Yeah, it's whether you want to get in at the ground floor and pick a preliminary round side. Or whether you want to wait and pick from the full list of the next round, which I can't bring you in written form now, but I can provide you with maybe when I see you tomorrow.
Looking at that list there, I'll have Paida Lina Miskond. Where are they from? Estonia?
From Estonia, yeah.
Estonia. I'll have the boys from Estonia, please.
They're a good side, mate. They're a good side. They've got a couple of they've got a couple of really good players. Do you remember one that used to play for Liverpool? Do you remember Ragnar Klavan, the centre back?
No.
Played for Liverpool 3 or 4 years ago. Well, he plays for Paida Limaskond now. And Andrei Florov is a good player as well for them. So I'm sure you're right behind them. Mark, obviously you're a big Helgi Gudjonsson fan, aren't you? Who's
big time.
topping the scoring charts in the competition at the moment. So
Are the boys at the Vikings?
Of the Viking boys,
Shouldn't Scandi Warren get sort of first dibs on?
Well, he's the organizer. He can't play
I
favourites.
can't. Yeah, I can't
That's
have.
a good
I
point.
can't be. Yeah, I can't be seen to have favourites. I do have my favourites, but
they will remain unsaid at this point. Also, we should highlight from a journalistic point of view there, Hutchie, very sad we're not going to get that dream reunion matchup, revenge match, Floriana against Town. Floriana knocked out at the very first stage.
Shame. That's the way it is, isn't it?
That's football.
That is football. That's the Milka. That's what you get in the Milka.
/ fictional dice game.
Mate, come on.
Stu, come on.
I'm in.
People are very much into this, very connected.
Doesn't sound like you're in, but
Doesn't, does it? Okay.
Really, no.
Bits of salt. Boys, speaking of salt and spice, there'll be plenty of that at Portman Road tomorrow night in front of 28,000 plus in front of the Sky Sports cameras as well, as Derby County come to town to play Ipswich Town, playing in their third change kit designed by Ed Sheeran. We've already discussed that. But it's worthy, given they lost at the weekend. This game is now big. It's the biggest game since the last game. So let's talk about it now. And I can bring Ross in, who I know has just been brushing the sleep from his eyes. Here we go. Roscoe, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Hope you're all well too.
Excellent. Wanted to get you in, Ross, because Fan Social is going to be moved slightly this week, given the game's on Friday night. And then next week, it's half term. We've got a game on Tuesday. There's not many of us around next week. So Fan Social is going to go out Monday next week. So you've got a pod at the start of next week, building up to the Port Vale game and reflecting on Derby. Derby County then. Who wants to kick us off? Stuart Watson. This is a clash between two of the biggest sides in the country in terms of support and history, etc. It is in League One, and it is at this stage of the season a really, really big game, isn't it?
I think two of the biggest sides in the country might be pushing it a little at this juncture. Two of the biggest sides in League One.
Did you not see my piece about average crowds, Stewie? Because in terms of average support, Derby County and Ipswich Town both very much among the biggest sides in the country and Europe.
Mark, do you know who did, I think, see your piece about average crowds?
Who?
I was watching. Did you watch the club's behind the scenes video that they put out with Pablo Quiago about his visit to the training ground?
I saw bits of it. I haven't watched the whole thing.
Kieran McKenna comes bowling over in the training dome and starts talking about, the attendance has been brilliant. I was reading something the other day about how, like, in the top 20 of average crowds.
There we go. Of course, K Money reads it. Of course, he does.
Someone read it, mate.
Well, that's good. So, Stu, on you go. You were just saying they're not the biggest, but they are. There we go.
The biggest game since the last game. Of course, it's exciting to build up to Ipswich v Derby in League One Friday night under the lights, TV thing. But to be overcome, and Ipswich need to get back on the horse after. We'll gloss over Tuesday night. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but ultimately it's a pair of 1-0 defeats in the last few days, and it'd be nice to sort of get back at it on Friday night, hopefully.
Hutchie, how are you feeling going to this one? I will say he's not with us today. Mike Bacon back off holiday. He expressed to me it's never brief phone call with Mike, quite a lengthy phone call with Mike, how disappointed he was that having overseen 2 wins while you were away, Hutchie, he's come back and seen that you've come back into the side and Town have lost all form and lost 2 in a row.
Don't pin this on me. How am I feeling? This was one of the games from the off when the fixtures came out. You looked for Ipswich Derby, didn't you? That was one very different derby, obviously, to the one we've been used to. A lot of changes there at the moment, but a really interesting test, I think. And I imagine there'll be a good TV audience for it. Obviously, a huge crowd. It sounds like it's probably going to be the biggest crowd of the season, which will be great. And another proper game of football, but another one that just has that slight extra bit of pressure on it, just a slight bit after what's happened in the last few days.
Rossi, by way of bringing you into the conversation, what how are you feeling going into this game? And also, I believe you got some thoughts from some of the fan social guys, haven't you? As a little segue into talking about the nitty gritty of the game.
I do indeed. No, I'm really excited for this one. Game under lights, you can't beat that at Portman Road. And as Andy said, it's a proper game. This Derby County coming to town, two of the big dogs in the division. So hopefully it's a good game. Of course, on Sky. It's normally rubbish, so get ready for a rubbish game, guys. But now I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be good.
I thought, on that note, by the way, I thought Mike Turbot, who's going to shave his head at the end of the season,
made a good point, didn't he?
He made a really good point about the TV thing. He said it's nonsense because Town play in front of cameras every week. There's always cameras there. So to say that just because it's on Sky is different, it's not. They're always playing on TV. So he was subscribed to your views, Hutchie, which was that there is no TV curse, doesn't exist.
Yeah, it is. I think we've all known it's nonsense, haven't we? I'm not sure there's anybody suggesting that there's a proper curse that needs to be kind of exercised. That you could bring in someone to do that, a shaman or something to come in, and which would be quite entertaining. But
they did that at Derby actually back in the day. When
what were they trying to get rid of?
When they opened Pride Park, they went on a terrible run of results at home. Someone's just carving up a body outside a window there. Sorry about that. Yeah, they had a terrible run at Pride Park, and they brought in a priest to exorcise the stadium. That was one of the things they did. There you go.
I believe that also happened at Ipswich in the Jim Magilton era, when Ipswich, there's a season where Ipswich were really good away from home but struggled at home, and I think there was a period where they got someone come in to fling some holy water around on the pitch or something. I can't quite remember the story, but
let's bring that back.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. That'd be great content. Anyway, let's move away from exorcisms and back to the game. Roscoe, what are the fan social guys saying?
Well, let's start with the sweet Welsh Prince, Harvey Davis, friend of the show and all that jazz. He's gone exactly the same as pre-Lincoln. Confident, always going to be bumps in the road, although I certainly wouldn't describe this one losing one game at home. I don't know what that means. Perfect time to bounce back, pack out PR against a promotion rival on Sky. We have a record is terrible, of course. Couldn't ask for a better fixture. Let's go to good old Ben Diaf. Couldn't see anything but a tight game. My hope is our all-round quality will just be too much for the Rams. Really looking forward to virtually a full house at Portman Road, under lights on TV. It's the sort of game we live for as supporters. And some other great thoughts as well, but
we'll come back to them. That's two.
Yeah.
We'll come back to a few more. Stewie, talk to me about Derby then as an opposition. They are clearly a sexy side. They've got a new manager. They've got some big name players in that squad. What do you make of them?
Ipswich have struggled against Paul Warne sides, haven't they, in general, over recent years? I think he probably will get Derby going eventually, but this is still early days under him. Probably is still trying to get a squad that is already probably in transition following relegation. We know ourselves, first year down it takes a little while for the penny to drop with clubs the size of Ipswich and Derby and others, that League One is not quite what you and supporters and everybody think it might be. So I think Derby are probably in that phase at the moment. Squad sort of hastily put together under difficult circumstances over the summer, and now you've got a new manager trying to sort of impart his own philosophies. And I think he, after their home defeat to Port Vale recently, sort of said, I think some of my messages about the way I want us to play maybe didn't come across the way I wanted. And so they're probably still finding their feet for various different reasons at the moment. And that just gives me hope that Ipswich were in a position to go and win this game on Friday night, hopefully.
They'll be missing a key player, the Rams. Collins up front just started scoring, is suspended now. He got sent off, I think it was against Port Vale, so he's missing 3 games, which one of these is this one. Hutchie, they play a 3-5-1-1 under Paul Warne, Derby County. What are you looking at for the Rams?
It sounds very much like the early days of Paul Lambert at Ipswich to me. And from everything I've read and seen, it's all very simplifying everything that they're doing on the pitch to try and find a way away forward. Paul Warne's style of football at Rotherham is very distinct. We know what it's all about, and there'll be some elements of that. I'm sure the goalkeeper will be getting the ball forward quickly rather than playing out from the back. That sounds like that's already started to happen, gone a bit more direct, but his style of football relies on having a certain set of players and skill sets, which I'm sure the squad that was built and thrown together very quickly in the summer, because it needed to be, wasn't built with Paul Warne in mind. Liam Rossini was much more of a footballing manager, wasn't he? Who played more, so they're not going to have that. This isn't Paul Warne's Rotherham that's got a Hickway, Smith, Barlaser through the middle. He's got some good players in there, but it's not built for him. The one danger man that I'd be a bit worried about, and sounds like he's really got going with Derby, is Mendes Lang from the left. He's a proper kind of up and down player. We've seen a lot of him at Ipswich in the past, but it sounds like it's really starting to suit him a little bit. And he would be the danger man to worry about. I'm looking forward to seeing Will Osula up front as well, who was a Ghassan Hadmeh alternative on deadline day that didn't quite kind of play out. So he's like, with Collins out, he's likely to play with Dobbin up top. So looking forward to seeing him.
Because obviously Collins, I think, missed the first game of suspension last week at Accrington, and Will Osula scored twice. So interesting. Rossi, what are you expecting from the Rams?
As Stu said, a typical Paul Warne sort of side. You know, we haven't got a great record against Paul Warne side with Rotherham, but of course he's still bedding in his ideas at Derby. But it's just a big game. I know. I said this already, but it is games I look forward to because big crowd at Portman Road, Derby County. Of course, they've got a lot of former Town players. Of course, David McGoldrick. I know he's not starting week in, week out. I think he came off the bench against Accrington. Of course, got Richard Sturman as well. Scott Loach, but he's not playing in goal. And then Conor Hourahan as well, but I think he's injured. I know he missed the Accrington game. I think I was listening to Paul Warne's interview pre-match, and I think they're still. He may not want to give too much away, and Conor Hourahan may start. You never know. But I think he got injury in training, so. But he's another good player. But if he is missing, that is another bonus for Town because he's a very good player for League One.
Yeah, Hourahan's been really important for Derby, as you say. Potentially might miss this game. Stewie, let's talk about Ipswich Town then. We've talked about Derby. How do you think McKenna might attack this game? We've said that Derby, they've got some good individual players, but maybe not a very deep squad. Maybe a little bit creaky in terms of age as well. Big Curtis Davis at the back, for example. How do you think McKenna will set out his squad in this one?
Yeah, Derby's a strange mix, isn't it? They've got sort of both ends of the extreme with veterans like Curtis Davis and McGoldrick and various ones, James Chester, all players in their sort of 30s, and then a whole load of sort of teenagers / early 20s sort of talented youth products, but maybe not enough players that are in that sweet spot of their peak at this moment in time. My gut feeling is that this year won't be the one for Derby, but there'll be one that sort of will be better for it next season. How does McKenna approach this game? I really don't know. He'll have come up with some sort of bespoke game plan for them. We're speaking to Caden Jackson this afternoon. He's the player up for pre-match press. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. Richard Keogh did press ahead of the last league game and didn't play in that. But you just wonder if Derby play forwards a lot more. It's going to be a very different type of game to Cambridge and Lincoln coming to Portman Road. They're going to the team that try and play a little bit more. Maybe does he look to try and sort of play almost sort of more of a counter-attack style at home, or at least give yourself an outlet there? I really don't know. I thought Wes Burns we talked a lot about Wes Burns on this last podcast not being his usual self. I thought he looked really good when he came on second half, actually on Tuesday night, which was good to see. But it's becoming difficult to pick these Kieran McKenna teams, that's for sure.
Hutchie, pick Kieran McKenna's side.
All right then. Walton, Danassian, Wolfenden, Edmondson, Davis, Morsey, Evans, Chaplin is the 10, Burns on the right, Kyle Edwards with a sense of injustice in his boots from the left, and Ladapo through the middle.
Yeah, I think
There
Kyle
we,
Edwards.
there we are, Kieran.
Yeah, I think Kyle Edwards would be a good one for this game. He's obviously relatively fresh still from midweek. In form, I think pace could be important against Derby. So, as you say, Caden Jackson we're talking to before the game. Is pace going to be what McKenna goes with this game? We'll find out. Before we get to predictions, Rossi, give us a few more thoughts from the KOA Army.
Yeah, I want to say thanks to everyone who sent them. Let's bring about good old Bainesy. He said, best opportunity to beat the Sky curse. He thinks it's a curse and get back on the winning track. Stick with the usual team as that's our best option at the moment. 1-0 Town will be a tough game. Let's bring in good old Bono. Good old Bono. Bono says, bit nervous to be honest. Can see Derby shithousing a 1-0 win and the world collapsing around us. We want to be included in the conversation about promotion contenders. These are the games we should be winning. There we go.
Do you now feel pressure, Ross, whenever you greet anyone that you have to call them good old? Because you refer to everyone as good old. If you just say, all right, Stu would be like, what?
Yeah.
What are you doing? I'm mortally offended. So everyone's good old. What's the most cliches you can link together in a conversation as well? We had good old and all that jazz earlier. Have you ever strung 3 or 4 together in a conversation?
Maybe my friend, maybe.
My good old friend and all that jazz.
We had a listener come up to us in the after we'd done our video at the game on Tuesday night and the lights had gone out on us. I think we thought we were the only people left inside the stadium, hence the tannoy announcement telling that was aimed very clearly at us to vacate the stadium. And then out of the darkness, almost it felt like coming across the pitch strode someone to say, the Doctor and Hutchie. We was very bemused. Bearing in mind this was now sort of, I don't know what time that was, 10 o'clock at night or something. And I think it was an Ipswich fan who'd stayed behind for some post-match hospitality. Again, forgive me on your
Junior?
name, sir. Yes.
Yes.
And he did ask for a shout out on here. But the first thing he asked us was, how do I get a good old from Ross? What is the criteria? So the people do want to know, Ross.
It is respect, but now it sounds like I say it to everyone, so I respect everyone, it sounds like. But also some people go, don't call me good old, because I'm not old. So I think that's one journalist said that once. I was doing Meet the Oppo, I went, I'm here with good old, and I think he was like bemused of like, you just called me old, but he didn't know the crack of me saying good old. But no, I think if I just feel I'm confident enough to say it to you, you'll get it. So yeah, Junior, good old Junior.
Junior Harris, to give him his full name, he gets the full shout out. Excellent game day, by the way, Rossi, with Ben and Peachy. Thanks for putting up with the cold boys and getting that done. That was tremendous. And also, if you've not watched Stu and Andy post game, one of the best examples of professionalism you will ever see. They are. I don't want to spoil it too much, but they're in the middle of the post game reaction. There's a tannoy announcement in the stadium, essentially aimed just at them. And then things start to happen around them. But you plow on, boys, like the good old pros that you are.
Good old.
Exactly that. And that was deliberate. Stewie, by way of kicking us off with, actually, we need to go to Hutchie, don't we? Because, of course, £1 million picks in terms of starting predictions. £1 million picks then, Hutchie. What are you feeling this week?
I need your help on this one a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do an over-under. So I need you to give me, you know what an over-under is, right? So you need to give me kind of the line. And I want to do it on how many times Ed Sheeran is mentioned in commentary.
Who's going to count this, though? How are you going
to... Will you be watching at home?
I will. Yeah, I suppose I could do it, yeah.
Well, there we go. How many times Ed Sheeran is mentioned in commentary from the moment the teams come out of the tunnel until the final whistle? And what I need from you, Mark, is kind of an over/under line on the number of times, and then I'll place my bet either way.
I'm going to go. Clearly, they're wearing a special Ed Sheeran kit. That's going to get mentioned a lot. There's probably, I'd imagine, a good bet that Sheeran might be there. So I'm saying 20.
20 times. I believe he's got a concert in Texas on Saturday, from what I'm led to believe, or something's going on.
Hold on, if there's extra info, if he's not going to be there, we know he's
I
not
don't
going to
know.
be there.
I don't know. I heard a suggestion he might be performing, doing something in America. I've
just looked up his tour dates, and yeah, he's due to be in Austin, Texas on the 22nd. So,
yeah,
is that still doable?
It's doable technically, isn't it?
A man of his means.
Okay, I'll base this on the fact he's not likely to be there. So I'll say in that case, I'll drop from 20 to 15.
Okay. I will go for the under on that. So what odds would you give me for fewer than 15 mentions
of Ed Sheeran?
Of Ed Sheeran in commentary.
I'll give you 6-1.
To be fewer than 15. I'll put £100,000 on that, please.
Okay. I will be counting, obviously, as the bookmaker. I want to make sure. So fewer than 15 mentions, 100 grand at 6-1. Any other bets?
No, I'm just that's it really. That's all I'm really interested in this game. To be quite honest,
it's the Ed Sheeran game.
Not going to go for a Janoi whiff.
No.
Well, he's already done that. He's had the whiff.
You can't just chuck a whiff around willy nilly. You've got to. I don't feel like it's close. It kind of builds. The charge will build. Imagine if he whiffed on Sky. That would be brilliant. That would be so good. But I'd enjoy that without having money on it, because you can still enjoy sport, of course, without gambling on it. And
that's the message, kids.
And yeah, that's what I'd like to say to the kids.
Yeah, you can't play with a pong, and you can enjoy sport without betting on it. Pochie, what's going to happen then? What's your prediction?
Ipswich Town 2, Derby County 1.
Nice. Stewie?
I'm going to back them for a win in this as well. I think the idea of like an Edwards Jackson, I think a bit of pace up against someone like Curtis Davis and James Chester might be their route to success in this game. I'm going to say 2-0.
2-0. Roscoe, have we got any direct predictions from the KOA boys before we give you yours?
Yes, we have 1-0 from good old Brad. 2-0 from Jubster, good old Jubster. Steve,
let's just assume that they're good old. Otherwise, you're gonna have to say that before everyone.
Yeah.
You can't be allowed on the pod. Surely you don't let anybody on your podcast, the Fan Social podcast, who's not a good old. Surely,
yeah. Everyone's good old Mark Heath, good old Andy Warren, good old Stuart Watson. Anyway, but yeah, Steve's gone for a 3-1 Derby win, so he's not happy. And good old Matt Macon's gone 2-1. Sorry,
can't help yourself, can you?
No.
So we've got mostly wins and a 3-1 Derby. Who is that? Steve Wallace.
Yes,
Ooh,
the man from
Steve.
Devon.
Not feeling confident. Yeah. What about you then, good old Ross? What do you think's going to happen?
I'm not good old Ross. Never.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. I've got 2 predictions here.
Mm-hmm.
That's not allowed, but
I'm going
I'm going for a goalless draw or a Town 1-0 win. So I'll take either of those.
Okay, so you're saying Town will either win or draw?
Yes.
I mean that is 2 of the 3 actual options in the game, but there we go.
Yeah.
Rostradamus.
Yeah, we'll remember that. So both Stu and Andy are saying win. Roscoe saying win or draw. I'm going to say I think a draw. Maybe feeling for a draw. And I'd also like to say, I think it's important to say, I've noticed on a lot of the game day stuff, people referring to Derby County as Mark Heath's Derby County. I'm not Frank Lampard. I'm not Wayne Rooney. Derby County are my boyhood side. I have a lot of family connections there, as I've discussed. But friends, trust me, on Friday night, there's only one winner that I want.
Are they dead to you?
They're not dead to me. Obviously, I'm always interested. But after, what is it? When did I move here? Almost 30 years of living in Suffolk and following Ipswich Town and doing it professionally as well. Trust me, I want the boys in black to win on Friday, and I want them to win in style. But I think it's going to be a draw. Before we go, by way of exiting the podcast with a bit of fun, let's play what shirt is hanging up behind Andy Warren over his right-hand shoulder. It's a pure red shirt. It looks like it has pure as part of the sponsor as well. Stewie, in the green room while we were waiting for Kayne to join us, you said you knew it.
No, I didn't. No, this is classic you, isn't it? You take a little crumb and a little seed and you grow it into something else. Like I said the other week that if Ipswich got a non-league club, I said that they would. I can't remember the phrase that they would negotiate. They'd negotiate it quite comfortably, and then as soon as that draw came out, I got a text saying, "You've already guaranteed that they're going to smash them." And I said, "I think I think I might have a gut feeling of what sort of area of the world this kit might come from."
Ah, that's right. I remember now.
Can I guess what you're going to say?
Go on.
Because is the little sponsor logo up on the shoulder there making you think it's Scandi?
No, I was going to say Eastern Europe. I was going to say Polish, something like that. That was kind of where I was going. But now that sponsor has thrown me a little bit. Pure Energy.
Is it French?
No.
I mean, you go Poland because it's red and white, I guess. Roscoe, any thoughts?
Is it a goalkeeper kit or
no?
Normal
it's
kit?
a long sleeved outfielder's home kit of this team.
It looks cheap.
Ooh,
yeah. Sorry,
killer blow.
Yeah,
it is made by a manufacturer that you've probably never heard of.
It's coming in. It's red for those listening with white logos. It's made by Kicks 21. Never heard of them.
That sounds
Pure Energy. Oh,
sounds like
then some foreign writing underneath.
That sounds like an American sponsor.
What is that? Like a unicorn or a horse?
That also looks like quite an American badge, if you don't mind me saying. It's not American, is it, Hutchie?
I don't mind you saying it, but no, it's not.
So it's a horse rearing up and its tail is on fire. And what was the year? 1960 something.
Is it Dutch?
It is Dutch.
De Groenste Stroom.
Hercules. No.
It's a good guess.
The Flaming Ponies.
FC20.
There we go.
Oh, it must be a very old one then, because they've got a different badge now, haven't they?
No, it's only a couple of years old.
Oh,
cheap.
okay.
Cheap.
It's actually very good quality. The whole thing?
There we go.
Yeah, give you some more Pure Energy on the back.
What do Kicks 21 do other than make football shirts? It sounds like it should be involved in
streetwear.
Shoes.
There's a lot of this going around. There's a streetwear brand called Frankie Garage, I think, who have started making some in Italy as well. New players in the game.
I did accuse you, didn't I, when we first saw that in the green room beforehand, that I thought you'd gone out and got yourself a Bracknell shirt just to impress our guest earlier.
Oh, look, I love Bracknell.
That would have been a nice touch.
What's that over my shoulder?
I wish I'd remembered that you guaranteed a smashing, Stu. I'd have brought that up with Kayne.
Yeah, I honestly thought you were going to do that. Hi, this is Stuart Watson, one of our Ipswich Town writers. He says that Ipswich are going to smash your boys to pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Right then, friends. Any other business before I do the usual shambolic outro, boys? We've covered a lot of ground today. I hope you've enjoyed it. A lot of things discussed, broken down. I very much enjoyed the chat with Kayne. Any other business, boys?
No other business.
No other business.
Are we all caught up on House of the Dragon yet?
Yes.
Good, innit?
I want Cameron Burgess to wear the mask that the
Viserys.
king wears. Yeah. The golden half Phantom of the Opera mask. That looked great.
Also, I don't know if any of you will care about this, but I cannot look at the Queen, the Queen's Guard bloke, Sir Kristen.
Yeah.
It's just Carlos Sainz from Formula One racing. He is the spitting image of Ferrari driver Carlos Sainz.
He's also... Carry on, mate.
I just now pretend that he's Spanish. It's my own little fun.
He's also the only one that's not aged at all in the entire show. He's obviously on some very good skincare regime. Is Sir Kristen, mostly driven by rage and jealousy by the look of it.
Didn't need to kill that guy this week.
It's a bit over the top on it. That
some unnecessary killings on his behalf going forward, going from here.
Not a nice man. Anyway, I enjoyed it very much. It's getting really good, and I think it's the finale, isn't it? Season finale next week. So, given that on Game of Thrones, the one before the season finale was normally the bloody gory one, I'd imagine that maybe they're going to start a new trend of the season finale now being the one where shit hits the fan, the body count rises.
Is the idea? Is like House of the Dragon? Is this self-contained in this, or is there going to be like 5 series of House of the Dragon?
I think they're going to take it. I think they're going to take it all the way, because clearly this is obviously a couple of hundred years before Daenerys Targaryen was born, and it's charting the downfall, isn't it, of the Targaryen dynasty. But I think we're going to get here we go. Stu's got the book. Is this the book?
So, yeah, he gave up writing the actual Game of Thrones, continuing with those. These are like the prequels to the Targaryen. This is so boring. The Targaryen sort of dynasty. This is part 1. So this is part 2. So there's plenty to get stuck into. I believe several series of this have been signed off.
They're also, by the way, in news that will interest your wife, Stuart Watson. Have you seen they're bringing Jon Snow back? They're doing a post Game of Thrones sequel called Snow, which follows the hero of the piece, as it were. So hopefully that won't be.
There's a lot of cash to be made in this world for them, isn't there?
Absolutely.
And as long as it keeps making some quite good TV along the way, then I'm okay with that.
I'm really enjoying it. Rossi, I gather by your silence thus far, you're not really a Game of Thrones / House of the Dragon sort of guy.
No, I should be, because so many people I know watch it, but just never got around to it.
You shouldn't, mate. Don't feel like you
don't
have
to.
No.
I watched Breaking Bad 6
months.
months ago. Yeah. Everyone's been saying to me for like 5 or 6 years, what you haven't watched Breaking Bad? No, I haven't watched Breaking Bad.
Have you finished it now? And
yeah.
Did it? I always worry if I'm really late to the party on stuff like that there's so much hype around it, it's never going to live up to that. You just be like, that was all right. Was that your reaction?
I really liked it. No, I really liked it. It's not. It hasn't surpassed Sopranos for me, in terms of those series. But I did really enjoy it. It's kind of a top tier. It's definitely would make it into the sort of the Premier League of that kind of stuff. I've still got The Wire to watch. I've been meaning to watch that for a decade. I've got like a boxed up DVD of it behind my TV, still in the plastic, which I now clearly don't need because I can just watch it through my television. That's how long I've been meaning to watch it.
That's like the holy trinity for me. You got The Sopranos, you got The Wire, and you got Breaking Bad. I mean, I would put Breaking Bad at the top. I think that's as close to perfect as you can get in a TV series, particularly the ending. Whereas the other two, maybe the endings let them down. But yeah, and Game of Thrones would have been right up there until that final series, which I'm just trying to pretend never happened. And pleasingly, with House of Dragon, it's kind of helping me forget that. So there we go. That's TV choice for this week, friends. Roscoe, ironically, when you say you're not interested in Game of Thrones, you're actually the one who, out of all of us, who looks most like you should be on one of those sort of shows. I can see you as a knight.
Yeah,
you got the facial hair. I reckon you'd be looking good in that particular setting. Sir Ross of House Halls.
Good old Ross. Good old. Ed Sheeran was in Game of Thrones, wasn't he?
He was. Yeah, that was horribly contrived. Wasn't it?
That didn't need to happen.
No. Anyway, we're digressing, boys. A bit of TV there and shirt guessing to round off what's been a very busy show indeed. Please support our sponsors. Use the code KOA at manscaped.com for 20% off and free delivery, all the excellent stuff they've got there. Thank you, Rossi. And also follow us across all our social medias, Kings of Angler on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and leave us a 5-star review. We got a couple of them off the back of last week's show, which is really nice. Really good to get some feedback and boost our fragile egos, which particularly in my case need quite a lot of stroking. Will egos be stroked at Portman Road tomorrow night on TV? We will find out. Today we've covered a lot of ground. We've spoken to the owner of Bracknell Town ahead of that FA Cup game. We've also brought you Milka Cup results, and obviously there we've taken the time to break down Derby County. All the boys will be there tomorrow. Follow it with us. Obviously, you'll be watching it if you can't be there, and we'll be back next week. Although I'm not entirely sure what time next week because it's half term and hardly any of us are around. There will be a fan social on Monday, and hopefully there'll be a proper flagship KOA in the middle of the week. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game tomorrow, and we'll speak to you again next time.